Hello, everyone, and welcome back to your favorite time of the week. That's right, it is time for DBR on CBR, that is Dragon Ball Rewatch, and we hope, as always, that you are watching along with us on Hulu and or Crunchyroll, and if you're feeling kind of froggy, you're reading along with us in the Viz Media translation of the manga. Once again, we are your hosts. My name is Alyx.
I'm Sam.
And I'm John. Episode 40, the Big 4-0, the Horrifying Buyon. It doesn't know how you'd say it, but that's how everyone says it. Japan got this November 26, 1986. Americans, February 26, 2002. Adapting 2 chapters. I'm going to leave you in suspense. Those who don't know, people have been waiting for me to read these chapters for like the last 6 episodes. So
I'm so excited.
excuse me, I put on my best Queen's English. Adapting 2 chapters. The Horrible Jiggler and How to Unjiggle a Jiggler, which sounds like a delightful children's book.
It's very like knockoff Dr. Seuss in a weird way.
I could very much see that being like something you'd write for children.
Yeah.
This is an episode. This is a thing that happens.
See, okay, really quick. I just kind of want to like make a quick Dragon Ball Z reference, because I believe in World's Strongest, one of the robots that is made in World's Strongest is very similar to Buyon, aka the Jiggler. And Goku just like straight up punches through that guy. But
he KOKs
he's
through the stomach, yes.
and he's way less uncomfortable looking than this thing.
Yeah, I mean, like Major Metallotron, Buyon Jiggler is he
Is that
is
his Christian name?
yes.
Please call
his
me
family,
Bulon. Mr. Jiggler was my father.
Mr. Jiggler was my father.
he could be the honorable Jiggler. We don't really know. He could have a legal degree of some sort.
Jiggler Esquire.
A Juris Doctorate. But so yeah, he just like Major Metallotron, he's drawn to be this huge room-sized villain. And yeah, he's definitely not as ginormous as the yellow creature in The World's Strongest, but there is a similar vibe there, I suppose.
I think it's just because he's like super stretchy and all that. And every now and then, Dragon Ball in general will throw you like a super stretchy villain. Like there's something that Toriyama just really loved stretchy villains. Like even the Namekians with their stretchy arms, there's something he really liked Mr. Fantastic. I think that's what I'm getting
I
at.
think they're just fun to draw as well. And he gets all sorts of like fun built-in comedy of people bouncing off things, and trampolines are just fun. So why not include trampolines in your villains?
Yeah,
Yeah.
give him the kind of Stretch Armstrong limb structure and consistency, and
The tongue is the worst part.
the tongue is the worst part, not the antennae, but the tongue. Yeah, it's Goku gets eaten. He gets our serial eater gets eaten, albeit briefly, by Buyon Jiggler over the course of this episode.
Yeah,
I love that we have to keep full naming him.
Yeah.
why like is it White is like now I'll get the Dragon Ball. No, he's eaten Goku. Ball gone. Because you're going to have to kill him now, and you've already said you're weaker than Goku, so you certainly can't unless you have a freeze gun or something. So well done, you've ruined your own plan, you clever Russian man.
Or whatever.
Really, Russian? What is happening? Okay, this is
His
where
accent's gone
officially the accent has gone off the rails. Like at this point, that he's just doing stuff.
Can I point out, I love the fact he calls Goku, he's like, you're going to be eaten like a pile of little chicken bones you put in soup. What a bizarre turn, like bizarre yet overly specific turn of phrase. And I kind of like the implication he thinks that Goku is going to understand that insult. Goku's like, what?
Yeah.
You just
There's a
hungry up
language
in the
barrier.
booth?
Language barrier. I don't know.
It could be, it could be a cultural reference to whatever nondescript continental European country he comes from. But
I think he's going like the old Russian babushka, like in old Russian films. You're always thinking, oh, we need to make soup for the winter. And it doesn't work in that voice. It just makes it like an angry chef.
He's
Yeah.
getting kind of to that point where he's like, if you remember the old Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoons, I feel like he's doing a Boris and Natasha thing without going in hard enough on the accent.
Yeah, Moose and Squirrel.
I
Moose and
mean,
Squid.
what is Goku but Moose and Squirrel, effectively? Because this
Yeah.
episode, he does basically Rocky and Bullwinkle his way through the situation.
He has a tail. I mean, I will say, a few episodes ago, I was talking about how much I enjoyed the Metallotron fight as the highlight of Muscle Tower, and I don't think this is worse than Ninja Murasaki, but I do think Buyon Jiggler kind of even though we're adapting 2 chapters, does kind of overstay his welcome. Like we get the gag at a certain point. We're like, just kill this guy. Just kill this guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think for me, I think this is a really fun single episode. I think what made it overstay its welcome was the fact we did the trapdoor gag last episode. If they had gone through this floor and this was the door before White, but they kind of built up to, we're going to fight White. No, we're not. And then when we go back up at the end, that situation hasn't changed. So it does feel like we'd have an episode here. Guy on the floor. There's a guy on the floor. You'll fight him.
Kind of,
Like White didn't use this time to do anything.
I think for me, like I genuinely like a lot of parts of this episode. Again, the Foley artists are just having so much fun. But there's when they come upon Bouillon Jiggler, when the door is opening, that takes like a solid 45 seconds to open that door. And that it's to me, that is kind of egregious.
Can we talk about waste of time in this episode? It takes us 3 minutes, 13 seconds to actually start because we go back through the entirety of Muscle Tower. I get it. This is a show for children, so children have no memory, but that's a little bit long. We don't every episode have to cover every single person Goku has fought. You're going to say he beat these 3 people. Cool.
Yeah, when an episode is less than 25 minutes, which these are, you feel it. You feel, something like that.
And can we talk about the Suno scene, which is the most egregious piece of filler I've ever seen him. So, those of you who haven't been following on, there's a bit in this episode where we cut to Suno. She does her, I miss Goku. I'm still here, by the way. She finds what I believe is a bit of fluff that's grown sentience, like a big comfy couch when the dust bunnies.
Yeah.
And then goes, where are your parents? They're over there, and puts it away, and we just end. So do you want to know the funny thing about that scene? When I was watching it first time, I remember I watched this a couple of days ago. I was like, have I sat on the remote? Is this like a DVD extra, like animation test? It was like, no, okay, it's an episode. Then I came back to review my notes last night. I read through what I made. I was like, that can't have happened. That can't have been in the episode. To the point, I convinced myself it was a hallucination. I was like, you know what? I haven't been sleeping well. I must have been tired and like made up in my head. So I got the DVD back out. No, that actually happened. I was like, I couldn't believe that was something they did.
Did you gaslight yourself into believing that they had more restraint than they did?
I was like, that has to be one of those like hypergagic hallucinations. Like, I was tired. Do you know what the funny thing is? I did some digging. These things reappear. Can you guess where they reappear?
GT?
No, BoJack Unbound. They're in Bojack's fighting arena.
What? It's like that whole scene is like, first of all, it's very strange, especially because she has like that little flashback moment too for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like
we do 2 flashbacks. Yeah.
It's so weirdly structured. And then here's my one issue with Suno. How old is she supposed to be? Because like in this scene, she's very toddler-ish looking.
Suno's age has been all over the shop. She goes from acting like sort of 13-year-old with her crush on Goku to acting like she's 3. It's very weird. This whole scene as well, her dialogue's weirdly sleep. Like I know she's like waking up, but it's weirdly distant. If you've ever seen the Werner Herzog film Heart of Glass, where the entire cast was hypnotized, it sounded like that. She sounded like they just like woke the actress up and gone like, quick, in the booth, in the booth, in the booth.
Really quick, I need us to take a moment, a second, to acknowledge that a Werner Herzog reference was just made on a Dragon Ball podcast. I think we all need to acknowledge that, and we need to hold on to it and deepen our nerdy souls.
We're having a holistic media history here, children.
Yeah. I mean, we missed our chance to reference Fitzcarraldo when he was in the jungle earlier, so we're gonna do this right now.
Right now. I'm sorry, I just needed to like have that moment of like, okay, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, it's just such a weird scene. I said
It's
I
very strange.
convinced myself didn't exist because like no writer would include this, surely.
Well, and
Like,
it's so odd because like, we've kind of like stuck it to the snow scenes because they are the most overt filler stuff from Muscle Tower because yeah, they aren't in the manga at all. Yeah, at this point we've done a variation of this scene for the past like 5 episodes. What can we give them? Give them the weird dust bunny things from My Neighbor Totoro. Fine. Here
see,
you go.
here's like the weirdest thing about it to me, all the Suno stuff, right? Is they kind of set Suno up in a way to be like if you were just watching the anime, not reading the manga, it sets her up as almost like a love interest in some way, like a loss, like waiting for my husband to return from war kind of energy throughout all of this. But we know that that's not like we know without hindsight that that's not Endgame, but it's also it's just a very confusing way to establish this relationship. Even though she has this crush, it's given so much attention that it feels very like Hinata from Naruto for like a solid minute. You know what I mean?
See, it feels like they were going to try and set up a joke with the Chi Chi stuff. E.g., the idea
Yeah.
where Goku, wherever he goes, ends up with a girl falling in love with him, but never understands it. But we never do that again. Like, it's not in the manga. We never do this again, apart from Chi Chi, who we've already established.
Yeah.
See, part of me wondering if the whole point of this was they were trying to set up something with sort of when Android number 8 comes back, as like, oh, Suno will accept him because she's like the little girl Frankenstein throws into the river in the Universal films. Or maybe that was me just wanting to see Suno throw into a river. I'm not entirely sure. But I wanted to try something like, oh, because that's in the Universal Frankenstein. That little girl's all like, oh, I love nature and all God's gifts. And
Oh
that's the
God.
setup. And I thought, are they trying to do that? Or I don't think they were. I think it was just like, this episode's 5 minutes short. We can't extend the previously on any further.
Well, and the in the manga there really isn't any of this. I will give the anime credit. Goku has the flashback to Sano talking about how cold it is in the manga as well. But that's it. There is no like pining or longing for or worrying Goku. The payoff that we get at the end of the next episode, the comedic payoff isn't there either. Um, yeah, I don't know. They're just like, oh, girl of similar age to Goku. She'll be fawning over Goku on some level. And just to remind the stakes, even though we already know the stakes because you gave us a 3-minute recap.
It's so wild. It's the Suno stuff is so wild.
How's the village elder doing? Is he frozen yet?
Frozen.
I do love, I would say, the Goku breaking the wall. It's again, it's what's fun about Goku at this point is that he's not the strongest, but he will pull out things you've never considered in a million years.
I really love that too. I love that Goku pulls out that idea from that memory, but it also kind of doubles down on the fact that as Goku got older, Goku got dumber. Like
Oh,
Goku might be at his smartest as a
Goku,
kid.
yeah, I mean, he's at his smartest in the Cell games.
Ah,
Maybe, I mean, I think, and I think I've written stuff on CBR about this, about like, oh, your plan almost failed, but
like
at least it was a plan.
yeah,
the Go oh man, I wrote a thing about the Goku Cell games plan too with Gohan, and like I on the one hand, it would be a great plan, but it all boils down to the fact that Goku didn't understand Gohan as a person. Like like that's
yeah.
the biggest issue with it.
Look, if Kung Fu films have taught me anything, ignore children and things will just work out.
Eventually, they will like start punching stuff.
It's
Yeah.
how it works.
I've
I
taught
mean,
in preschool before. I know how that works.
yeah, Goku's already like this is probably the most certainly the smartest fighting thing he's done so far. He gets tactical moments though throughout where he, kind of figures stuff out as he goes along. This is just the first major instance. I like that Eighter is like, "Oh, you're so smart, Goku," and he's like, "Yeah." Like,
Goku Goku crawling into Eighter's jacket, also adorable as hell.
That is,
Like,
I love Eighter has been the highlight of this episode. They've done such a good job. They build in the next episode quite a lot, but of making him just really interesting,
Hmm.
making him sort of nervous enough that they can just have him in the background, but keeping him focused that you do feel he could at any moment something could happen with him. It's really nicely done.
yeah.
Of course, this episode is great if you want to nitpick, I will point out. For stuff like, why does it? Because at the end, Goku just jumps up back through the hole. He could have done that at any time. He
Any
could have
moment.
he could have broke the wall when fighting a ninja and frozen all five of them to death if he'd wanted to. Like, Goku, there are plans.
Oh,
Yeah.
Goku.
Oh, Goku, and your refusal to kill that ninja. I will never forgive you.
You know,
Yeah.
that was the moment where Goku really should have said, like, maybe this guy needs to die.
Yeah. It's also like I after he destroys Metallatron, he does like the, like the prayer. Here he's just like, you're done. He just breaks him.
Also, like, fate worse than death when you think about it. Like, he's alive because he's still kind of blinking, so he's alive while frozen and then kind of just crumples. That can't be. That's on Joe the Pain scale they show in hospitals. That's around the 10, I think.
Like, see, the thing about Buyon that I'm kind of like, I don't think I can't remember if they explain it. Like, is Buyon just like a thing that they caught? Did they make Buyon? Did he come out of a lab? Is he like a proto cell kind of thing? Like, what's going on with that?
I can tell you that I found very little information about him. None of the guidebooks really mention him at all. He's just kind of there. He's the thing in the basement. It's kind of
Did
weird that
he?
they didn't kind of retcon him to be like a Cell or Boo thing later on.
This is a bit of a deep cut, but in Star Trek in the original series, you had that character Tremaine, who anybody who watched Star Trek later on would be like, "Oh, that's obviously a Q." And they retconned him into being a Q later on once that became a concept. So I'm shocked they didn't do that with Bouillon Jiggler here. Like it would make sense, especially with like the Dr. Gero tie-in later on.
I'm presuming Toriyama forgot the character ever existed.
Yeah.
That's also true.
He only appears outside of flashbacks once more. Interestingly, in Dragon Ball, Super Dragon Ball Heroes, he's part of the Supreme Kai of Time saga. He's one of the Super Space Time tournament competitors, and gets obliterated along with the rest of Red Ribbon in about 15 seconds.
Well, there you go.
So yeah, I just think it's a case of whatever.
I need to watch
Whatever.
I need to watch Super Dragon Ball Heroes in its entirety, just like a non-canonical fever dream. Just
It's great. It's just full of weird stuff happening continually.
yeah, there's like Black Janemba and stuff like that, or like
We all love
it's like,
augmented, remember?
yeah,
I do love weird stuff happening continually. Like all the
yeah.
clips from Sparking Zero have been making me so happy.
Sparking Zero is great.
It's
Yeah,
it's so much fun. If ever so slightly buggy.
it is. It is. I'm waiting for that massive. I mean, I guess there was already a day one patch that was like 9 gigs or something like that. I'm waiting.
Jesus.
Yeah, I'm waiting for another one.
Yes, I'm waiting for one that actually means to get some of the fights are beatable.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Don't,
want
nobody wants to fight Monkey Vegeta.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for God, when we're recording this, has just come out. For me, that fight was entirely bugged to the point that it would do the cutscene of him launching his beam every second. I couldn't actually. It never cut back to my character. I couldn't see anything. I ended up beating it by turning the settings down really low, and then apparently it fixed the issue.
Somebody
Oh,
made a post, like basically being like, after doing that fight, I get where Frieza was coming from.
yeah. John, are you playing on PC?
Yes,
Oh, PS5.
yeah.
Yeah.
I brought on PC, and apparently having it on high settings causes some of the timings to go beyond weird for
Man,
CPUs.
you gotta go. Yeah. You
I
have
like
to
how
watch
we've
this mode.
once again hit an episode in this arc where we're just like, ooh, let's talk about a different Dragon Ball thing.
This
I mean,
episode is fun. There's very little to it, and it does feel
Yeah.
like a stopgap on our way to White. I will say I do like the ending. I like White pulling a gun and then shooting
Yeah.
Goku in the back and going like, "Why didn't that hurt you?" So you've been watching this guy on TV. Do you have no memories? I say that this is a man who next episode we learn leaves flare guns on the floor,
It
which is
also like
why you store them.
it also
Where they
established
go.
that Goku is like hurt by bullets, albeit not. I mean, they sting according to him at this point. There's I suppose a super gun we'll get into next episode. I remember at the beginning of Super starts with Goku facing robbers and he hasn't trained for a while and like one of the bullets, if I recall, like cuts him.
Ah,
And he's
yeah.
like, I guess I haven't been training for a while. And it's like, really? Because when you were like 12, they would just sting unless Dragon World assault rifles have improved in the past,
I mean,
13 years.
it wouldn't be that weird to argue that people did make better guns because we've had all these different threats come that are immune to bullets. So why not make a gun that can actually hurt something? I'm now having flashbacks to the old Doctor Who episode where the Brigadier just says, "I wish one day we'd encounter something that was vulnerable to bullets."
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
No
no,
doubt.
it's definitely a weird ending. I do also like just like how when Goku comes through the floor for White, they have just the walls flash.
Oh yeah.
It's I get what they're going for, but it's another of those moments you go, "Oh right, this was made in the '80s before the Pokemon incident, where we could just have things strobe."
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything is just like low-key sandstorm in the background.
Yeah.
Sorry, children.
We're Raven today.
Uh, it's definitely one of those. I also just quite like the idea that this gives this whole episode of White doesn't really know what's going on in his massive tower. Like all this stuff was kind of just built. I know we joked last episode about the guy who made the maze was the same guy who made Pilaf's maze. I quite
Yeah.
like the idea that this guy just comes with all his stuff and like White just signed off on the package, didn't really bother reading it. He's like, yeah, that's where we put the Buyon in your basement. He's like, yeah, sure, what the hell? It's $50. What the
No,
Google
listen,
Google it.
if you want the Bouillon Jiggler package, you're gonna have
Yeah.
to pay the extra 50. However, he is gonna need constant feeding of some kind of cloven hooved animal.
Well,
So know that it's gonna be a thing.
there's a cow head. So based on what we've seen, the only way into that floor is via that hole. So it just means every now and again they lead a cow up to the top of Muscle Tower and drop it through the hole.
Yeah, it's like a Jurassic Park situation,
To be
Where
What?
fair,
where are they storing the cows?
I think cows can't walk downstairs. Like I think they can only go up. I don't think they can go down. So you'd have to throw it in the hole.
Yeah, it's like in Jurassic Park when they feed the raptors, they lower the cow into the raptor pen.
Raptor pit.
Yeah.
The
I just
Bouillon Jiggler pit.
I said the idea that every couple of months, like every couple of days, some poor like grunt has to go into the boss's office with a load of cows.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sir, you're on the phone to Commander Red, but it's time to put the cow in the hole.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. It's time to put the cow in the hole.
Of course, he's wearing like a flat cap, like a 1940s janitor.
Yeah, the power that Bouillon Jiggler is capable of requires lots of protein. Lots of protein, lots of calories.
One thing I do quite like, I will say, is his reveal. I do like how they've clearly made his shadow look great ape in that first little bit. It's a very nice kind of. It obviously doesn't go anywhere, but I quite like the idea they're teasing the idea. Oh, could there be another big monkey around? You never know.
Ooh.
Yeah. We will in about 100 episodes, but yeah.
When this writing team has left.
Yeah.
Get the next round. Next
I
round.
like that they keep like poking towards it. So I could see like if you're a kid at the time, this being like a really interesting idea. Like one could appear at any time. Obviously, if we're old and we know, no, sorry, Japanese children, there will not be any more giant monkeys for quite a while.
Sorry, Japanese children.
You will not get a monkey for Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah, if you think about it, Goku doesn't go grade ape for the rest of the series, does he?
No,
No.
yeah, no. So it's amazing going back to old Dragon Ball. You realize how many of these big plot points just kind of vanish for a while.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Just stuff will happen. I have this when I like whenever I write for CBR, I was like, oh yeah, so that happened around. So this first like tease of something happened in like episode 95. When did it actually pay off? Episode 317. Right.
Right.
I forgot that. There's a nice gap. Talking of Japanese children, we'll get this out of the way. This episode
Japanese children.
had a special next on segment. Yes, which was only on the broadcast version, advertising the fact the first Dragon Ball movie is coming. Curse of the Blood Rubies. It took over the first half of the next on segment. Basically, they're advertising that you could win tickets if you wrote off mailed. You had the chance of being. They saying of going to a premiere, but there was more than one. So I think there's like one for each prefecture, probably. But yes, you'd go
Yeah.
to a premiere, e.g., no premiere. You could win tickets to see Curse of the Blood Rubies at your next Manga Matsuri, which that would be nice. The tease is, I would argue, makes it look much more action packed as a film than it is. But what I
Yeah.
do find interesting is it doesn't promote the other films that are in the bill. It's very clearly this season. We'll get into it when we get to Blood Rubies, but is built around this being the Dragon Ball Manga Matsuri, which
Yeah.
does give you a good idea of how Toei definitely have faith in the show at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, they've commissioned an entire anime film, right? They've commissioned, and I think that's a good kind of tease that, yeah, are we going to cover Curse the Blood Rubies? Hell yeah, we are. We are going
Hell
to,
yeah.
we're going to talk about those Dragon Ball movies,
Well,
starting with the first.
yes, and it's a hilarious localization history. This also talking of dates, the second Dragon Ball game came out the day this episode aired. Dragon Ball Shenlong no Nazu. It's an NES game. It would come out in the NES. It's a weird game actually. Sort of in that era before they sort of established the rules of how games should work.
Yeah.
It would famously come to America in a couple of years as the name Dragon Power, where they removed all of the references to Dragon Ball and made it a straight kung fu film.
Yeah, I
Which
remember that. I remember Dragon Power.
that's one of my favorite random bits of localization because they removed Roshi's love of underwear but replaced it with a love of sandwiches. But they so poorly translated it that quite often it's a love of Bulma's sandwiches. So it's almost like every second he brings it up, it's like, like he has this weird form of kleptomania about only stealing Bulma's sandwiches. It's very odd.
He turns into Yogi Bear. Like that's so weird.
What's that thing where everything will become crabs? It's that and goes cartoon characters in the Yogi Bear.
Because Yogi Bear is clearly the highest evolutionary form. It is the ultimate
The platonic
form
ideal.
the platonic
Yeah.
ideal.
That's what peak performance looks like. You might not like it, but it's what it looks like.
You have
Sorry,
to
Hayden.
accept. You have to accept Yogi Bear. I was tempted to do a Boobo impression, but I don't think I can pull it off.
Yeah,
Hey,
I don't think the Ranger's gonna like this. Hey,
Hey, boo boo.
boo.
We've lost track. But this is what Booyons do to a person. They take you off.
I think
Remember-
I have been jiggled.
Yes.
Remember, kids, jiggle responsibly.
Yeah.
I do think that probably my final thought on this whole thing is that this episode, I think we would have enjoyed it a bit more if we hadn't have had the drag.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing with this is it's a fun fight. The episode. I think if this had been like how we had those early episodes in Pilaf back in the day, where they were just back in the day, 40 episodes ago, where they fought just like the Tiger Bandit or Master Carrot. This would be one of those episodes if we didn't have that dangling thread of, by the way, the village elder is dying.
Yeah.
And-
Hey, he's
Yeah.
no again. Like, oh, okay.
By the way,
Right.
there's a military out there shooting up families. You might want to do something about them, kind of deal. And we hadn't just gone through this sort of 5 episodes of the Marashi fight, which again is fights for the sake of fights. And I think this is one episode. I think if I revisit this as a solo episode in like 6 weeks, I'll probably enjoy it a lot more. But in this sort of continuity, it's like, I want to see White finally get his comeuppance a bit here.
Yeah. I always found Muscle Tower to be kind of a momentum killer. And so, it'll be cool. We only have 1 episode left. So, I think that's kind of my final thought about the Buyon Jiggler and et al.
In our final thoughts about Buyong Jiggler, we just want to remind you out there, children, that you need to report any use of Buyong Jiggler to your local authorities and say no to Buyong Jiggler. But on that final thought, it is time for that sad part of the day. That's right. It is time for the end of the episode. This has been DBR on CBR. That's right. It has been Dragon Ball Rewatch. And we hope you continue to watch along with us on Hulu and Crunchyroll while minding your Bouillon and Jiggler use. And we hope you continue to read along with us in the Viz Media transposition of manga. Once again, we have been your host. My name is Alex.
I'm Sam.
And I'm John.
And we'll see you next time on Dragon Ball.
Feed your jigglers.
No more jigglers.